So welcome to our first round table. As you've just saw, we have Lillian, Colleen, and Amie, who are financial professionals, and we are going to endeavor to do a round table a month-ish or every other month. We'll see how things go on different topics. This month, if you've been watching my Facebook page, you know that my topic for this month is reset. And so that's going to be our topic of our round table today. We've brought in our special guest, Patty Grant, who works in wellness and also runs Peaceful Mind, which is about having our mind and our body calm and settled so that we can be our optimal version of ourselves. So, Lillian, would you like to start us off and just give us a little bit of an understanding about what resetting your life or your mind looks for you, both in work and your personal life?
Sure. For me, this is the perfect time to do reset because school finish and then kids are at home. So for me, reset for my family is really looking back, reflect to see what we've accomplished, we did over the past year, and if we want, what kind of the path we want to go as a family together. And for my work, I think reset is more of really zoom out to see the progress. A lot of times when I'm really digging into that, I don't see how much I've been going through to get to where I am right now. But that really reset will help me to really see from a different perspective. That's my take on reset.
Thanks, Lillian. And how about for you, Amie?
Now this I'm not good at. I'm definitely not good at slowing things down. So this is an area I probably struggle with the most is the breathing. And, you know, I'm a fast-paced gal. So I guess for me, resetting is going for a run, doing a workout, but it's always fast-paced. It's never, you know, that slow, being mindful. I have done a hard thing and I've committed to doing Pilates 4 days a week, which has been really hard for me because it's the slower movement. So this will be really good for me to learn about tips and tricks to make it easier, make it more engaging for myself. So I'm interested to see where this is going to take me. Business-wise, same thing. I'm a get her done person. I'm super fast-paced. I need to do a better job of slowing it down. So yeah, let's see what we can do.
Patty, how about for you? Now we know you just came off of vacation, so you should be really fresh on how to reset because you have been the living, breathing example of it.
I should be. I just had to take a reset right now, even just mentally to prepare myself because what you might not have seen is that Colleen sent the information to me through a different email. So I never got it. So I was wondering, oh, I wonder what's happening. And Colleen and I have been very casual in our conversations and how we operate. So I just thought, well, maybe she'll just let me know when this is going to happen. So for me, even just right now, to take a moment to reset my mind and my body to be able to respond in a way that is meaningful is important because we just got a new kitten and she had us up all night last night. And so my brain and my body are tired, but I love that we can take like mini meta moments just to reset in a moment. We don't have to have, you know, an hour or a week or whatever to do this. Although it is nice, we can also just reset really quick in the moment. And I think that's something that I have learned. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't something that I experienced and learned just naturally. It's something I've had to work at. So I think resetting for me is even just sometimes changing our inner dialogue, the narrative, just hitting that button that says, I'm going to do things a little bit differently, or I'm going to take a break. And for some, just like Amie was saying, for her, it's like getting active. For somebody else, it could be, you know, resting on purpose. And so I think all of the above are great examples to reset.
Number one, I want to know the name of your kitten.
Oh, her name is Boo.
Aw, love that. I also really liked what you said about it doesn't have to be like when I think reset, I kind of automatically go to, you know, a decompression sort of a mindset. But I like how you
Mhm.
brought up there that a reset doesn't have to do that. A reset can just be doing something a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that speaks a lot to me, especially, I mean, the season that we're in with, the time and history that we're in. I know for me, even I work in wellness, but we are working at a very fast and flexible pace right now. And we have to be really adaptable. And so switching gears has become very common. And I think that's happening for many people, but I work for a large organization as well as my private company, but it's fast and you don't have time to sometimes even really think about it. You just have to go. And then it's later that, because you still need to process, right? We still need to process. So how do you process? Do you process when you, some people meditate, some people, use exercise to process. Some people have social connection where they just process with another person and they're able to like go, oh, I just had an aha moment. I feel so refreshed. Like Colleen and I had that the very first time we ever met. It was like, we both agreed, we're like, this was so refreshing. Why don't people do this more often? Why don't we take risks, like healthy social risks more often? So, yeah.
I like how you said that it is okay to have different ways, because for a long time, people are like, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You're not doing, and I'm like, but I don't know how. And so it's good to hear you say that it's okay to have a fast paced reset almost.
Yeah.
Right.
I
That
think
it's just,
we need to. Yeah, or to have a whole bunch of different ways to reset. Like this is a wonderful topic because, if you have a whole bunch of strategies and tools to how you can reset and what works for you, I think that's even better. And I know, like, I don't know how many people, like working for a large organization in wellness, so many times I've heard people say to me, I just need a vacation. I just need a vacation. But then they take their vacation and they come back and they're like, oh, I had to do so many home projects and we had hail damage. Like this past weekend, somebody said this to me and he's like, I didn't feel like I had a vacation. So if you're waiting for the vacations to do your reset, what is that speaking? You know what I mean? Like how are you operating when you don't, because most of us don't have 8 weeks of vacation. We have maybe 3 to 5 weeks. And so that's not a great way to live, waiting for time off, So what can we do? Even just taking, like, I just recently read a book and it was on emotional intelligence. And it's Dr. Mark Brackett. He's a Yale professor. And he wrote a book called Permission to Feel. And he talks a lot about taking meta moments. And this is a meta moment is a moment about a moment, which I think is so interesting. A moment about a moment. So right as you guys were introducing yourself, I was taking my own little personal meta moment, just saying to myself, it's okay that my hair looks like this right now. And it's okay that maybe
that piece and I
wasn't prepared. And this one's still sticking out, so we're good. But it's okay. You know what I mean? Like changing the narrative. And he really uses breathing. Breathing's a big piece of his work, and in using it as a strategy to calm ourselves, especially before we're going to make a decision or before we are about to speak, if we have an emotion that is unpleasant, like a high energy, unpleasant emotion. That's a really good time to take a moment to reset, because we might be charged up. We might be ready to say something that necessarily wouldn't be healthy to ourselves or to the other individual. But when we take that moment, it just helps our sympathetic system get active so that we can focus, so we can make our best self decision. Like he talks about that a lot. Like, what would your best self do in this moment? And so, my best self is would not have been to tell Colleen, I'm sorry, I'm not in a headspace to do this today. Just being honest, my best self is to step up and say, what is inside of me that I could still offer, that I'm not really prepared for, but that I could still give. And I need to believe that that is my best self, and that I do have things that don't have to be prepared for, right? So yeah.
I love your unprepared stuff. I'm not sure we've had a prepared moment yet, Patty. We're going to have a prepared moment someday.
I'm so happy about preparedness.
So I got to ask though, so when you talk about that memory of or moment of a moment, roughly, like Dr. Mark Brockett, how long does that roughly last? Like, is there, are we counting to 10? Are we counting to 20? I'm trying to process this, so I know kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. I love that there are people like yourself that need like a rule or a strategy that's got like boundaries around it. And I love that. And then there's other people that can just go, it's just a moment. So if it helps you, something like counting your breath is very helpful, because when we count, when we breathe, first of all, when we slow down our breath, we just turn on that parasympathetic, restful digestive system. So you have in your nervous system, you have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is on when you are go, 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 when you're super alert, when you have to be aware and alert because something's going on, or even just me speaking right now, my sympathetic nervous system is dominant because I am speaking. I have to be mindful. I have to be aware. I have to be alert. And parts of my parasympathetic are there. So I'm a bit fluid. The parasympathetic system, though, turns on when we are relaxed. So anytime you're doing anything relaxing, because when you relax, your breathing slows down and muscle tension also starts to dissipate. And so as soon as you breathe, focus on your breath nice and slowly, you turn on that system. You turn on the restful, digestive, calm system, so that when you're about to make a choice or you need to switch gears, that is the best system to be in. And the way you can do that is something really, one way you can do it is to be mindful about the breathing and about the counting of the breath. So what you can do is once you've kind of, and if you're interested, I can take you through a mini meditation, but basically you would count your inhales and your exhales. So you would say, you'd inhale and that would be in your mind 1, and then you exhale and that's 2, inhale 3, 4, and you do it to 20. And it doesn't take very long. It sounds like 20 counts, that's a lot, but really it'd probably only take you a minute and a half to do that. And so that's one way. The other way to do it is just to sit and slow down your breathing so that you are taking slow inhalations and slow exhalations to the count of about 5 or 6. There's something called heart rate. I don't know if anybody's heard about coherent breathing or heart rate variability. If you have an Apple Watch, it likely, I believe anyway, mine's a 5, so whatever, it would track heart rate variability. Does anybody know about heart rate variability?
Very little.
No? Okay. It is an indicator of your nervous system health, and it's based on the beats between each heart rate. So you have like, bump, 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 but in between each one of those beats is a time. And there's a variability, like it's not all the same. It's amazing. It's not the exact same second in between each one. They're all different. The higher your heart rate variability, the healthier you are, and especially the healthier your nervous system is. So when we enter meta moments, we increase our heart rate variability. We increase heart rate coherence. And when you slow down your breathing, the research shows to about 5 to 6 seconds a breath. So that would mean like I'm going inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale, same thing, 5 to 6 counts. This creates heart rate coherence.
This reminds me of heart math, Patty.
Yeah. Yes.
For trauma retraining.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Heart math uses this whole, all the research, actually a lot of research has come from heart math too on heart rate coherence. So that makes sense. You can find like, even if you do have an Apple Watch, you just go to heart rate variability and it tracks it all the time for you. So you can see the numbers. Then you can go online and just look up here's my age. I'm a female, for me, I'm going to be 49. So 49 female, what is my heart rate coherence? And it'll tell you what it should be at. And not that you should feel bad if it isn't there, because lots of things affect it, like your health, your general health. So say you're struggling with an autoimmune condition, or you have something that's completely out of your control, that will affect heart rate coherence. And so will like age and gender and things like that. But athletes use heart rate coherence quite regularly because it is an indicator of their performance too. It basically indicates that you are very flexible, so you can respond quickly to things. So you have a high degree of resiliency. And that's a beautiful thing if we can be highly resilient. So these meta moments, I mean, are really good, not just for resetting, but for internal physiological resetting.
And when you take a meta moment and you change your breathing and are intentional about that, it adjusts our energy as well. And I remember when my kids were little, I would bring them if they were having a rough time or a distress or whatever, and I would lay them on top of me and I would manage my breathing. And then they would start to manage their breathing to mimic that. And it would bring their heart rates down.
That's
So I
beautiful.
think when we bring our meta moments and in meetings, I don't know if it works the same way with clients across the table. But I wondered, like, does as you have your meta moment, does that transition and invite the other people in the room to lower their heart rates and adjust their breathing?
I believe it does. I think that, just think of any group, like if you studied group psychology, right? Like there's something called group think, and it's this, brains that fire together wire together. So like at work, we just started a summer meditation challenge, and we have over 100 people. I was shocked. I'm like, what? How we have so many people? It's amazing. And we just did our first talk today. We just call it a meditation talk. I was teaching everyone, okay, this is how you meditate. Like, this is how you do it, right from how you sit to what you're going to anchor your attention upon. And, when I am leading a session and I slow down and I'm mindful of my voice and I'm mindful of the way my hands are, even like how I'm holding my hands, how I'm sitting, how much I'm moving, and I'm calm, it has a ripple effect, right? Then when people are responding and I'm asking things like, questions, like inquiry-based questions, I get a lot of the time I'll say, what was your experience with that like 3-minute meditation on breathing? And people a lot of times, like, obviously when you're breathing, you're calming down, but just my voice and the intention behind it of being calm and relaxed also has this reverberating effect. So I love that, Colleen, because, in our children, our loved ones, when we can have those special moments. And now I have a kitten. If I put her on my chest, oh my goodness, she's so sweet. She calms down too. But I do think this is so important for us to be like calm, and to walk into situations, especially difficult situations that could raise your heart rate, that could make you feel challenged internally. And because how they say what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, what comes first? Your mind telling your body to slow down, or your body telling your mind to slow down? Because both can happen. Your body affects your mind. What you do to your body is going to affect your mind, and what you do to your mind is going to affect your body.
Well, and those both then correlate to soul. Right?
Yeah.
And heart. So we have heart, soul, mind, and strength. We have those 4 components. And so if you are resetting one of them and you don't reset the other, the one isn't really going to truly reset. It's going to be dragged back into the primary state by the others. And so to reset, it really requires all 4 of those starting to slow down. It's like synchronizing you're meshing your gears, right? Like if you grind your gears when you're shifting, if anybody drives a manual instead of an automatic, right? That if everything's in sync, you can actually shift without your clutch. because the speed and the rhythm of your gears are synchronized. Whereas if they're out in different speeds, you need to bring them into a neutrality before we can then put them back together again. And I think that the 4 pieces, those 4 components, exactly what we're saying is which comes first. If you have one at a very different speed than the rest, which is, I think, Amie, probably why running really works well for you, because you're going so quickly. So you bring your body into that pace that your mind is at. And then as your body slows down, it invites your mind and your soul and your heart to slow down with it. So as your breathing slows down, so does your heart. And I think it just, you know, as we were talking about ushering in, I suspect your running gets everything in going the similar pace, and then they can all slow down together.
I don't know. And then my watch beeps at me and it tells me that I'm going to die soon. Like, your heart rate's 182. Should we call for help? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm okay. We're okay, Stella. I'm still good.
It's like, hey, you're running too fast. Your heart rate's high, slow down. Yeah, that's funny. I actually think too, Colleen, I have a slightly different take on it as well. And I've experienced this personally. So for many years, for about 4 years, I suffered from acute anxiety. That's why I'm so very passionate about this. So I would have about 20 panic attacks a day. And yeah, and it was triggered from an event that happened. So I was stung by a wasp, and I got in the car to drive. I never had a reaction before. So I thought I was fine, and I had been with my dad, and we were at the Glenmore Res, and then I get in my car, and within 5 minutes, my face is full of hives, my head's itchy, my feet are itchy, and my airway starts to swell. And so I think I'm gonna die. I didn't die because I'm sitting here right now, but I think at the time that this is what's happening. And that episode created a 4-year journey of intense anxiety. And I'm not saying it created it, but it triggered it. And so I have been like, I am amazed at the body. So there are times where I would be thinking, for example, so say I woke up in the morning, and what ended up happening was I was afraid to drive, because all this happened when I was driving. And so I had a fear of driving and a fear of like death while driving. And so I would get in my car, but the first thought I had in the morning was, oh my gosh, where do I have to drive today? Where do I have to drive? So I'd already start ruminating. So that first thought about, oh my gosh, what if? The first what if thought created in me a physiological response. So it was a thought that turned into this reaction through the body. And then, you know what it did? It started to elevate my heart rate on a regular basis. Like it did all these things, because when you're in the sympathetic mode, when you're in fight or flight, your heart rate gets elevated. So so talking about resetting, if you never slow down, so I'm saying, yeah, there's all sorts of ways we can reset, but if you are somebody that rarely ever slows down, and when you function on that high mode, just to know that you're functioning in sympathetic, and sympathetic does things physiologically. It dilates your eyes. So you might get eye pain. You might feel like, at the end of the day, I want to rub my forehead. You might get tension headaches, right? It increases heart rate, and it increases blood pressure. It increases respiration rate. So if you're always in that system, and it increases muscle tension. So if you're tense, if you feel really tense a lot. So if you're always in the system, it's not healthy.
And if you're increases toxicity in the brain, does it not?
I don't know about like the physiology that slides that I have don't really talk about that necessarily, but I'm sure it's not good. But then the other thing that happens is you can have somebody that's operating in that sympathetic go state, never takes time to rest, but you can also have somebody in the rest state that never gets up to the go. So you can have somebody that's just living in like honk. They're just like always feeling like kind of almost like depressed. Do you know what I mean? Not necessarily depressed, but you're pressed down, like you're just always kind of in that slow mode. And then that's not healthy either, because then the opposite occurs. So that you might have sedentary behavior, which means now you're not exercising, now you're not getting your heart rate up, you're not circulating the blood the way you should, you're not using your muscles the way you should, perhaps. Like, I'm just saying there's two sides of this. So we do need to do both. So you can just sit here and ask yourself, okay, what kind of reset do I need? Do I need to rest? And resting on purpose takes work if you're not used to it. It is a foreign concept. It is not something that most people find comfortable. So just understand that that's normal. It's normal to be like not wanting to do it, Amie. Woo. Yeah, not wanting to do it, and also feeling uncomfortable while you're doing, like, this is a waste of time. Why am I doing this? What does this do for me? So you have no idea though until you do. And it's funny because I'm just going to read this from this book today. This book is called Mindfulness in Plain English. It's written by Bhante Gunaratana. And I love what he writes here. Just wonder if I can find it quickly. He talks about meditation and slowing down is like cultivating soil. So if you give me a second, because I wasn't really thinking I was going to read it, but I want to read it because it's so good. Maybe you talk amongst yourselves. What do you have to say about what I just said? Anything?
Well, Lillian, how do you find, like, what do you see? You've still got, your kids, and you guys are just newly moved, and you moved just before COVID hit. Your kids are new to school and stuff. So have you seen all of this sort of play out in your family dynamics?
Oh, definitely. I feels like I am more on the opposite of what like Amie was experiencing. Like, I'm more on the like slower pace, and then at times I really need to pick myself up and to do more activity, like higher energy activity. That's what I feel, especially like during COVID time. There's like, I'm just out of ideas of where to go and what to do. So that takes a lot of energy to think and plan, what am I going to do, not exactly like doing that. And yeah, I just learned, and I also really think resting on purpose takes hard work. It's not just sitting there. It's like you have to meditate. Why are you resting? And what I'm like, all of these, like a heart rate, I never think about that before. So yeah, so I think I am resting, but I'm not resting on purpose.
You're resting, but not on purpose. That's a really good point, Lillian. I think that's so important, like, because that's what being mindful is. Mindfulness, the definition of mindfulness is moment-to-moment awareness without judgment. So it's moment-to-moment awareness, which means you're in the present moment without any judgment. So it's a very self-compassionate, kind practice, because we don't judge. Like, so instead of saying, I'm just gonna make this up, Lillian, but say you were feeling bad about like not being purposeful about your rest, that you're resting, but you're watching TV or you're watching TikToks, I don't know. Just something like that. And you started to feel like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I doing that? That's such a waste of time, or whatever. That wouldn't be in the spirit of mindfulness. That mindfulness would say, no, like, just be kind to yourself. There was a reason probably you needed to, go there, and maybe you weren't on purpose. Now you'll be on purpose. So it's like kind of a beautiful thing that you can experience meditation or mindfulness, or just living your life being more mindful. And mindfulness is about being. But I just want to read this to you because I love what the author writes. He says, meditation is a lot like cultivating new land. To make a field out of a forest, first you have to clear the trees and pull out the stumps. Then you till the soil and fertilize it, sow your seed and harvest your crops. To cultivate your mind, first you clear out various irritants that are in the way, pull them right out by the root, they won't grow back. Then you fertilize, you pump energy and discipline into the mental soil. Then you sow the seed and harvest your crops of faith, morality, mindfulness, and wisdom.
That is beautiful.
Wow.
I know. Can you send that to us?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Really good.
It's a
Yeah,
lot to process.
it is, right? But like,
Yeah.
you know, this uncovering of what is there, you don't even know half the time. We can't change what we're not aware of. We can only change what we're aware of. And if you never cultivate the mental soil, you maybe never plowed anything that you're like, oh, I didn't know I actually had that in me. It's kind of like when you run. I know we keep going to Amy's running example, but if you've ever ran, say you've run a 5K, a 10K, you've had to do a run, a marathon, half marathon, that takes a lot of mental soil. It's a different kind of mental soil because it's a physical, you just have to put one foot in front of the other, and you just keep telling yourself just one more foot in front of just one more, especially when you're getting tired. I mean, it is a cultivation. And that's why most runners run, because they love it, because they are essentially meditating when they're running. They're working through things, they're thinking about things. And so that, because it's also so route, like it's a route activity, it's just one foot in front of the other, right? It's the same joint actions over and over and over again. But so when we meditate, we get still and we take out all the noise, because there's a lot of noise. We all know, if you ever had monkey mind, you know, where you're like, oh, there, and I got to do this, and oh shoot, I missed this, and oh yeah, I have to do that. And I'm like that crazy kind of mind, right? Where you just feel like you're zigzagging all day. You are able to, that is what basically this is about. It's getting rid of all those distractions and using the muscle of concentration, which isn't fun all the time, but mindfulness is. So you have the two. You have being mindful and being focused, and it cultivates that. And then what it does is it removes all these distractions. It removes this monkey mind, and in the process, it creates an ease in the body. So we feel stable. We have a stable mind, and we start to feel at ease, but it takes time. This doesn't happen overnight. Struggling with 4 years of intense anxiety, like those panic attacks every day. Do you know, I'm still learning. Like even, you know, today to be totally honest with you, I was hosting that meditation session, and it took one thought for 1 second that I might not be able to pull off the whole talk, because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for it either. And I was like, what if I had that one thought and I could feel my heart rate starting to beat faster? And I was like, I know what's happening here. So what I did was, in those moments, because I'm talking like I'm talking now, but I'm also having this internal conversation with myself. Inside, I'm thinking, what is going on? I'm about to lead a meditation. How do I have a racing heart rate now? And this is what mindfulness teaches us, not to judge. So I know that. So inside, I said to myself, it's okay that my heart is beating fast. And I see you. That's what I just said. I said to my heart, I'm like, I see you. I see you're beating fast. I know what you're doing. And I'm okay with it. And if you want to beat fast for another 5 to 10 minutes, I'm okay with it. I can handle it. And because I didn't reject it, and because I didn't get scared and freaked out and fearful about, what if I can't get through this? What if I have this whole time? What if I'm a fraud? I'm leading a meditation clinic and I've got a serious anxiety attack going on. No, instead I was just like, hey, I know you. I've experienced you before. It's okay. I will get through this. And honestly, it dissipated it. It took the charge right out of the thought, which took the charge out of the physiological reaction that ended up occurring in my body. So if you can even reset the mind-body link to tell, if your body can tell your mind, or your mind can tell your body, like just think about that. Because if right now, if I asked all of you, just keep the way you're sitting, don't change anything about how you're sitting right now. And right now I'm going to ask you to pay attention to your feet. Just notice the bottom of your feet. Notice all 10 toes. Notice what parts of your feet are in contact with the floor, or whatever they're touching. Okay, now notice your seat. Notice your hips, your lumbar spine, your low back. Notice if weight's on one side of the body or the other. Notice if your weight is forward, if it's back. Where is your weight? Okay, now I want you to notice your spine. Notice the length of your spine. Notice where your head is above your spine. Is it sitting forward? See, you all want to move, right? You're all like, oh, where are my feet? Everyone's like, now I feel them. Oh, where's my spine, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what mine, right? I could
Yeah.
see faces. You're like, oh, shoot, my spine leaning like this.
Yeah.
And Lillian, you were forward, you know, your body was forward. And so when you take, and Colleen, I was pretty impressed. You're pretty upright here, just a little tilt.
We've done this. I've gotten used to, it's okay. So I can be aware of the reality of the moment, but I don't have to be ruled by it.
No, but what mindfulness does is it says, oh, I never noticed that one shoulder was higher than the other. And I actually have tension in my shoulder. So maybe this is more honoring. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I love about it, is it just helps us to be aware, because you can't change what you're not aware of. So maybe in that moment, Amie, you weren't aware that you had your right shoulder elevated, right? Just maybe. I don't know. Just thinking. I'm just.
It's on my desk. I'm holding my mouse so I can unmute and mute. That's why. I know, it's so bad. But you know what I think is really key, and this is what I believe struggle with, and I love that you touched on it. And when I'm trying to be still and I'm trying to be mindful, and you talked about, you called them monkeys and I call them squirrels, okay? Because I've got lots of squirrels going on and I'm like all over the place. And so when I'm trying to be still, I have such a hard time getting rid of those squirrels. Like, they keep coming back. And then I have that guiltiness about me, like, okay, why can I not push that out of my mind? And then I feel bad. And then I'm like, okay, there's, you know, it's not working. And then I stop doing it because I'm like, okay, I'm not getting it. Just keep coming back. And I don't give myself grace, which I need to work on.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I love about mindfulness, is it says that self-compassion should walk in the room. It should be in the room. So when you're relaxing on purpose, or when you're trying to calm your mind and your mind is all over the place, or like me today, like not having like I had compassion for my physical heart. My physical heart was beating fast, way too fast for sitting in a meditation. And I had compassion for it, and it dismantled it. You know, like, and so for you, even though it's uncomfortable and your mind's all over the place, you're like, this isn't working. I don't think I like it, right? Like, just to say to yourself, that's normal. That's 100. That is so normal. That is more normal than not normal. Today, when I led that session with like 100 people, I said, I want you to know it's normal for your mind to wander. We're human. Our minds wander all the time. This is why we practice meditation, so we can develop concentration. And it doesn't come like that. Now, you might be an amazing multitasker. You might have that like down pat. And that can be a beautiful thing, but in balance. And so when you're asked just to do one thing in meditation, all I'm going to ask you to do is focus on your breath. Like right now, I'll just show you something real quick you can do. Sit in a posture. So right now, take a posture that is going to honor your wellness. So what do you need right now in your own body? Do you need to feel your feet? Do you need to use a back rest for your back? You know, what do you need? Placing your hands, like linking them together or cupping them on the lap, or if you have an armrest, or just placing your hands on your lap, is going to relax your shoulders. It's going to relax the jaw. So just think about how you're sitting. Be mindful about how you're sitting right now. And then I want you to either soften the eyes, which means maybe you're going to look down, or perhaps you'll even close them. And the first few moments, all I want you to do is pay attention to the weight and where you feel weight in your body. So where do you feel grounded? And just take a few breaths to recognize where in your body you feel grounded. And maybe it's your feet or your legs, the hips, the seat. Or it could be another place in your body, but just notice where you feel grounded. And then make any subtle adjustments that feel like they would further honor your body. And then once you've made that adjustment, commit to staying in that position. And then I want you to notice your breathing and just the fact that you are breathing. Just notice that I am breathing right now. And where do you feel the breath? How do you know that you are breathing? Can you feel the breath in the nostrils? Do you feel the breath move as your chest moves up and down with the breath? Are you able to relax the belly and feel the diaphragm as it fully accepts the breathing? And in that way, you'll experience an ebb and a flow. So you'll have a swelling of the belly on the inhalation and a retreating on the exhalation. As you're breathing and noticing that you're experiencing breathing as a human being, notice your face and just notice the softness around your eyes. Notice your jaw, and if the jaw is tense, create some space between your teeth. Softening all the facial expressions, just relaxing your face. And if it won't relax, not to worry about that, just to notice that too. And then taking your mind's eye to the very tip of your nose and noticing the breath at the very tip of your nose. Notice that point at which you feel the breath enter your nose and the point at which you feel the breath leaving the nostrils. And see if you can concentrate and direct your attention to this area. If you feel your mind is wandering and you're having trouble staying focused on this anchor, then just taking the mind back to the present moment, back to these instructions. And as you do so, just doing that with kindness, not judging whether or not you drifted or you're thinking about something else. Just kindly taking your mind and attention back to the breath, and in particular, the breath at the tip of the nose. And just experiencing breathing in this way. Have you ever thought of your breath at the tip of your nose before? And noticing there's an inhalation and an exhalation, and that there are some pauses. And let's just consider these pauses like a reset, like an invitation to be still. As you breathe in, you'll notice there's a pause at the end of the inhalation. As you breathe out, there'll be another pause at the end of the exhalation. And within these pauses are the precious moments of stillness. This is where we reset. This is where we prepare for the next breath. This is where we prepare for the continuous breath cycle. But within the cycle, there are these moments, these opportunities to reset. And all you need to do is be aware of it. It's the awareness that starts this whole process of resetting. And so just sense into your feet, the bottoms of your feet, the bottoms of your hands. Check in with your posture again. And then when you're ready, simply open your eyes just in front of you, so they're very soft if they were closed. And take a breath here, just an intentional breath before you lift your gaze. Go ahead and lift your gaze, and maybe you want to stretch for a moment, because sometimes after we meditate, we just need to do that. So feel free to lift the arms, or you might want to roll the shoulders a few times, which feels good. And then my question to you after we do something like this is a really good idea just to ask yourself an inquiry-based question. So what was your experience like, Lillian, today, when you just spent a few moments on your breath, and especially at the tip of the nose? What did you experience?
I feel very restful. Like it's just like rest that I it's not like went to bed at night kind of rest. And I feel very
Right.
focused. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's so
Yeah.
good. That's resting on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It feels
that's so good.
really good. Yeah.
I'm
It's like
glad.
that moment that it was very concentrated, and it's like also getting to know my own body, like the areas we never pay attention.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever thought about that? You're like, the tip of my nose, really? That's beautiful. Amie, how about you? What was your experience?
So it was a little bit difficult for me because my mind was like going every single way, and I use humor for a lot of things, so I was like thinking of funny things, and I found it a little bit easier though. When I've tried doing this type of stuff on my own, it's harder. I found it easier when you were kind of instructing it, because you were instructing it being like, okay, now bring your mind back if it's wandering, and you were
Right.
also giving permission that it's okay. And as funny as that sounds, as funny as it is, it's nice to have that someone give you that permission that it's okay that your mind does that. Just
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so for me,
Yeah.
I was able to like, oh, okay. And that's what I was going to ask you too. Do you find that that's normal for somebody who is like maybe high strung like myself, that having somebody walk through and say those things makes it easier? Or what's your take on that?
I would say that when you have somebody that guides you into a meditation that gives you the permission that you're speaking of, we call it like open awareness. We help you to see that you have all these options, that you can choose, and that there is sometimes a more skillful option, right?
Oh, do
Uh-oh.
we have a freeze? Well, let me just segue while
Right.
Patty's unfreezing her.
I'm trying to bring it back. It feels like, oh. Am I freezing?
Yeah, you've just froze for a minute. So I was just taking the opportunity to say that you actually lead a calmness breathing awareness session on your Peaceful Mind on Facebook for people that want to take advantage of that on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I think she's taking a couple of weeks off in the summer, but that's Wednesdays at 8 o'clock on Peaceful Mind, Patty Grant on Facebook. And you can certainly get a hold of myself or find Patty directly on Facebook to take advantage of that amazing offering. And at this point, she's not charging for that. That's just a gift that she's giving. She's just so generous. It also reminded me that this is very much like what we do in our financial and advising world, that we just provide people with more informed options. You might try to struggle and do these things on your own, but when somebody knows the path, they've already done the journey, they've already been there, they've already gone into those pitfalls, they can guide you through it. Just like Patty, she knows about having that panic and anxiety mind tripping to things. Oh, are you back with us, Patty?
I think I just tried a different Wi-Fi connection just in case. So that might
And I'll let
help.
you speak for yourself now.
Yeah, so I heard you were introducing, but but what I was just going to say is that you don't always feel comfortable or skilled at it. And then this is so common, Amie, like especially like like I work for a large corporation. And so there are, and a lot of engineers, a lot of professionals, and they operate like in that go, go, go mode. And what I find fascinating is probably the number one group of people that end up taking the types of clinics that I offer are engineers. And I find it fascinating because it's really nothing like what we're talking about. And maybe that's what is fascinating, is that their brains are always on go mode. They're, for the most part, they're real thinkers. To be an engineer, you have to really think and process. And so if you're not giving yourself the opportunity to sort of just zone it and dial it down and focus on one thing, how good are you at focusing on one thing? I mean, it sounds like the easiest thing in the world. Doesn't it? You're like, you can focus on 30, 40, 50, 60. We have, on average, our minds wander 50% of the time. On average, the average person's mind wanders 50% of the time. Isn't that crazy? And we know that mind wandering creates unhappiness. We know that by research. It's a major component of wellness. Mind wandering, it lowers our wellness, our ability to be well. And so it's not to feel bad about it, but everybody that meditates and that feels like they've got this inability to concentrate goes through this same kind of suffering where you're just, why is this happening to me? And you're hard on yourself. I had a lady today, though, I will end with this. She said to me, because this was a group of like beginner meditators, and she's been meditating with me in this program that I have for about a year now. And she said, when I first started, I had zero concentration. And it was uncomfortable and I didn't like it. And she said, and now it's like a button. She's like, as soon as I sit with the intention to get calm and still, it's like I turn on the button to relax. It's like my whole body goes, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, I can relax. And that is beautiful. So even just to do, Amie, for somebody like yourself, maybe you just start with 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. That's great. That establishes a habit. And then after that, you can, go to 10. And 10 minutes actually has been proven to have significant benefits. So 30 to 45 minutes of meditating a day, you might be like, oh, but that's where most of the research comes. But 10 minutes has significant benefits. So can you meditate for 10 minutes a day or work up to that? Maybe, I don't know. But it's a worth a try.
I can try.
You can try.
Yep. And it's about doing those hard things, right? And it's about learning and developing new skills. So yeah, I'm going to try it.
Well, and a lot of people, we hear that I don't have time, or I can't take that time, and yet when we really, as Patty, as you're sharing with us, we can't afford not to, because our productivity, our effectiveness, our creativity, all of these things, they compound exponentially with pauses and resting and resetting, which allows us to focus and be more effective. We can't afford not to take the time to pause and reset. I want to thank you, Patty, for joining us today. You're just a lovely human being, but also just an absolutely delightful and generous guest. So thank you for all of this amazing wisdom and insight, and just really good practical application.
You're welcome.
Take and use.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for spending your first day home after vacation with us.
It's very appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for it. So nice to meet you both. I love your video intro, by the way. It's adorable.
Thanks. We had a lot of fun creating it.
It's got lots of vibrancy.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Yeah.
It's got our personalities in it, which is wonderful. So yeah, it was good.
Well, thank you so much. And that's the end of our first roundtable. So for those of you watching, Patty Grant, Peaceful Mind, find her on Facebook. If you need contact information, you're welcome to contact myself, Lillian, or Amie, and we can direct you there. And join us next month for It's Not a Race.
Awesome.
What do you mean it's not a race? Yes, it is.
Amie will be leading that session.
After I practice my meditating. Okay, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.